You walk into a room full of people, and no one looks up. You speak, and the conversation moves on as if you never said a word. You exist in the margins of every group, every relationship, every moment, present but unseen, there but not noticed. And somewhere deep inside, you stopped asking why. You just accepted that this is who you are, invisible. But what if I told you that this feeling didn't start with you, that it was planted in you long before you had the words to name it, in a childhood where your presence was treated like background noise, where your emotions were inconvenient, where love felt conditional on how little space you took up? Maybe you were the quiet child in a loud family, the one who learned that being heard meant being a burden. Maybe your parents were physically there but emotionally absent, lost in their own pain, their own survival. Maybe you had siblings who shone brighter, demanded more, and you learned that your role was to fade, to not need, to not ask. Or maybe you were punished for expressing yourself. Your excitement was too much, your sadness was dramatic, your anger was unacceptable. So you learned to edit yourself down, to become smaller, quieter, less. You learned that the safest way to exist was to not fully exist at all. And a belief took root in your bones. I don't matter. My feelings don't matter. I am not worth noticing. This wasn't a thought you chose. It was a wound that became your identity. Inside, you feel like a ghost in your own life. You watch people connect, laugh, share, and you feel like you're on the other side of glass, seeing it all but never truly part of it. You perfected the art of blending in, of reading the room, of knowing exactly what everyone else needs while your own needs stay buried so deep you've forgotten they exist. You're the friend people call when they need something, but forget to check on when things are good. You're the partner who gives and adapts and compromises until you've disappeared into the shape of someone else's happiness. You're the co-worker who does the work but never gets a credit, the family member whose absence wouldn't shift the dynamic. And the cruelest part? You've convinced yourself this is normal, that wanting to be seen is selfish, that needing attention is weak, that if people truly valued you, they'd notice you without you having to ask. So you wait, and the invisibility becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because when you don't believe you're worth seeing, you stop showing up as someone who can be seen. Psychologically, this pattern is rooted in something called emotional neglect, a type of childhood trauma that doesn't leave bruises, but leaves you feeling fundamentally unseen. It's not about what happened to you. It's about what didn't happen, the attunement that was missing, the mirroring that never came, the validation that should have taught you that your existence matters. Children need to be seen, not just physically cared for. They need their emotions reflected back to them, their needs acknowledged, their presence celebrated. When that doesn't happen, the child internalizes a message: I am not important enough to notice. And that message becomes a lens through which you see yourself for the rest of your life. You develop what's called a fawn response, a survival strategy where you become hyper-focused on others' needs and emotions to stay safe, to avoid conflict, to earn love. You learn to read micro-expressions, to sense shifts in energy, to anticipate what people want before they ask. It's not kindness. It's hypervigilance. It's a nervous system stuck in the belief that your value is conditional on how useful, how easy, how undemanding you are. And beneath it all is a deep, unspoken terror. If I take up space, I will be rejected. If I ask for too much, I will be abandoned. If I show my full self, I will be too much. So you stay small. You stay quiet. You stay invisible. In adulthood, this shows up everywhere. In relationships, you're the one who always adjusts, who apologizes even when you're not wrong, who sacrifices your needs to keep the peace. You're terrified of being needy, so you convince yourself you don't need anything at all. You attract people who are comfortable with your invisibility, partners who don't ask about your day, friends who only call when they need support, family members who take your presence for granted. And when you do try to speak up, your voice shakes. Your words feel small. You second-guess everything you say, convinced that what you have to offer isn't valuable enough. At work, you do exceptional work, but struggle to advocate for yourself. You let others take credit. You don't negotiate. You don't push back. Because part of you believes that being noticed means being scrutinized, and being scrutinized means being found lacking. Socially, you're the person who laughs at jokes but rarely tells them, who listens to stories but doesn't share your own, who shows up for everyone but feels like no one would show up for you. And the loneliest part? You're surrounded by people, but you feel profoundly alone. Because connection requires being seen, and you've built your entire life around not being seen. The hidden wound beneath all of this is shame. Not the shame of something you did, but the shame of who you are. A bone-deep belief that there is something fundamentally wrong with you, something that makes you unworthy of attention, of love, of space. You don't just feel invisible. You feel like you deserve to be invisible, like your invisibility is proof of your inadequacy. And because this shame lives in your subconscious, you don't fight it. You reinforce it. You stay quiet in conversations. You don't post on social media. You decline invitations. You shrink in photos. You delete messages before sending them. You stop yourself from reaching out, from asking, from wanting. Because if you don't try to be seen, you can't be rejected. If you don't ask for love, you can't be denied. The invisibility becomes your armor, your protection, your prison. And underneath it all, there's a small, desperate part of you that's still waiting, still hoping that someone will notice, that someone will see through the mask and say, I see you. You matter. You've always mattered. But you've waited so long, you're starting to forget what would feel like to be found. Here's what this pattern is really costing you. Your life. Not in a dramatic, catastrophic way, but in a slow, quiet erosion of everything that makes life worth living. Every time you silence yourself, you lose a piece of your voice. Every time you shrink to make others comfortable, you lose connection to your own size. Every time you pretend you're fine when you're not, you lose trust in your own emotions. You're not living. You're performing. You're surviving. And the saddest part is that the people in your life don't even know what they're missing, because you've never shown them. You've never let them see the full, unedited, messy, beautiful version of you. You've never asked for what you need. You've never taken up the space you're entitled to. And the longer you live like this, the more you believe this is all you deserve. But it's not. This invisibility was never yours to carry. It was placed on you by people who couldn't see you. Not because you weren't worth seeing, but because they were too wounded, too distracted, too limited to do the seeing. And you've been carrying their limitations as your truth. Healing begins the moment you stop waiting to be found and start finding yourself. It starts with going back to that child who learned to disappear and saying, I see you. I'm sorry no one else did, but I see you now. It starts with reparenting yourself. Teaching yourself that your needs are valid, that your emotions are not too much, that your presence is not a burden. It starts with nervous system work, learning that it's safe to be visible, that visibility does not equal danger, that taking up space does not lead to rejection. It starts with boundaries, saying no without over-explaining, asking for what you need without apologizing, walking away from people who only love your smallness. It starts with radical self-honesty, acknowledging that you're angry about being unseen, that you're tired performing, that you're grieving the years you spent hiding. And it continues with small, terrifying acts of visibility. Sharing your opinion even when your voice shakes. Posting the thing you've been too scared to post. Reaching out first. Asking for help. Taking the compliment without deflecting. Letting someone see you cry. Saying, I matter, until you believe it. This won't feel natural at first. Your nervous system will scream that you're in danger. You'll want to retreat, to apologize, to go back to being small. But every time you choose to be seen anyway, you rewrite the story. You prove to yourself that visibility doesn't destroy you. That being yourself is not only safe, it's the only way to truly live. You were never meant to be invisible. You were always meant to be seen, fully and without condition, not because you earned it or performed for it, but because you exist. That's enough. It was always enough. The people who couldn't see you were looking through broken mirrors. But you don't have to stay in their reflection. You get to step into your own light. You get to be loud, big, messy, imperfect, and fully, unapologetically here. And when you do, you'll realize something beautiful. The right people were always looking for you. They were just waiting for you to stop hiding. So stop hiding. The world needs to see you. And more than that, you need to see yourself.